Hey, hi, hello, and welcome back to another bookish video. And I have some really exciting news to share that I just got, and I'm going to use it as inspiration for this next video, because I can't wait. All right, let's jump in. So a while back when I started posting things on Instagram and TikTok, I created a Net Galley profile. So Net Galley, if you don't know, it's a website where publishers and authors release books early in an effort to get more eyes on their books. You know, obviously as an author, having more reviews on Goodreads is a good thing. Having people talking about your books is a good thing. So essentially their goal is to get you to read and hopefully enjoy their book before it even comes out, so that when it comes out, more people are inclined to buy it. Now, I wanted to share this because I have 60-something subscribers right now. This channel is tiny, and I just got a super exciting advanced reader copy. Let me show you. So I just got Katherine Center's new book that comes out not till May as an ARC, an ARCK advanced reader copy. And I wanted to share this with you all because I do not have a ton of followers on any of my platforms. I am just beginning and just growing. So please don't think when you hear big YouTubers talking about advanced reader copies that means cool for them, but not you. Not true. Like, if you're talking about books somewhere, even if it's just reviewing on Goodreads, go into NetGalley, make a profile. You never know. You might just end up getting the next Katherine Center book. So for my next reading blog, I want to dive into some of the ARCs that I've gotten. So right now it looks like I have 3 books and 2 audiobooks. So one of them that I already shared was Katherine Center's The Hate Lovers. If you know Katherine Center from the rom-commers, from How to Walk Away, from Bodyguard, just she's written so many good books. I also ended up getting Well Actually. This is another rom-com that sounds very interesting. It sounds like this is going to be a second chance romance, but it also sounds like it's going to be a lot of like enemies to lovers, which I do love. So I'm excited to read this one. I also have the audiobook called Give Me Butterflies. And isn't this cover just the cutest? I was excited for this one just from the cover. So this is another romance, and it sounds like this is going to be Grumpy versus Sunshine, but also maybe a little bit of STEM, because they talk about how the main girl is very into like bugs and science things. I always love a good rom-com book with banter. And the next audio I booked is called The Last Twilight in Paris. So this one is actually historical fiction during World War II, which is my favorite era to read historical fiction during. But what's interesting about this one is it sounds like it's going to take place after the war ended. The last Net Gallery book that I have right now, admittedly, I might have gotten by accident, but I'm kind of excited now that I've read the description. This could be like, sometimes you read books that you don't expect to enjoy, and then they surprise you. So that is Breaking the Dark by Lisa Jewell. Did I see Lisa Jewell's name and just click request? I don't think I would have requested this knowing that there's like this superhero background element to it. But then I was reading the description and I'm intrigued because it's actually more like crime drama with the backdrop of a world with superheroes. So over the next week, my goal is to read some of these advanced reader copies and let you all know what I think of them. And hopefully I've got some surprise wins in here because there's definitely some wild cards. So we're going to jump in. I think I'm going to start with Well Actually. I think I want to leave Katherine Center's book for last as a little treat. I don't know if I'll actually follow through on that, but we're going to start with Well Actually and go from there. Let's jump in. All right. So I have been reading Well Actually on this beautiful day. I'm outside in a tank top, for goodness sake. I got the sun setting behind me and I wanted to update you guys because I'm just past the 50% mark. This book has been good, not great, I think is the best way to describe it. Can I give you a hug? Do you get this book? Hey, you want to say hi to the camera? Is that funny? So the premises of this book is you've got Ava and Cooper who went out on a few dates in college and then he ghosted her and it fizzled out. It wasn't much of anything anyway. It was kind of frat boy college time. Anywho. So unbeknownst to Cooper at the time, and what we find out as a reader is for Ava, that meant a lot more because it was her first kiss, her first date, her first a lot of things. And so even though it was only a few dates, it actually had a lot of meaning and importance to her, whereas Cooper was kind of in his frat boy self-discovery phase anyway, and he has baggage that he brings to the table. So it fizzles out. it moves on. They're adults in their respective careers, and Cooper is now this fairly famous who actually has a podcast about being a gentleman and knowing how to treat women right and all of that fun stuff. And so one night, Ava, drunkenly listening to the podcast, decides to whip out her phone and take a video of herself ranting and raving about how awful Cooper was. She says, like, he ghosted me, he didn't know how to treat me right, he wasn't good in bed, like all of these things on this video, posts it, and it goes viral. And so, meanwhile, on the side, Ava is working in like a online content company. And so they're like, we're going to do something with this. So her company approaches her as like, we need views. So here's what you're going to do. You're going to go on 3 dates with Cooper. And then part of the agreement is after each of those 3 dates, she will then go on his podcast to sum it up and talk it over. So that's the premises. I love the premises is super interesting. And these two like love-hate each other to such an amazing degree. Banter in this is 5 stars. Everything he says, she is right back, zinging it back at him. And it is so much fun to listen to the two of them back and forth and back and forth. The part that's falling flat for me is the writing itself feels more juvenile. So like the content is not juvenile. These are adults. The writing just leaves me wanting more. So like, for example, at one point he goes, I like knowing what out-of-pocket thing you're going to say next. I like hearing about your ideas and your thoughts and then reading how you piece them together. I like that you're a little bit feral, and sometimes I like that you let me get away with teasing you. The writing was, okay. The plot's great, and I like the characters, and I love the banter. But we're going to see. I'm about halfway through. We're going to keep reading tonight as the sun sets behind me. Kids are home from school, so I'm going to go put my mom hat on, get some homework done, and then I'm going to keep reading. I will update you guys all very soon. So I just finished Well Actually. This one was by Maisie Eddings. I think I'm probably going to land around a 3-star. I have to think about it a little bit. The first part of this book I loved. The characters' love-hate relationship with each other and the banter was next level. I felt like these two had to come back for every little thing anyone said ever, and it was just so fun to watch that piece of it. Unfortunately, as it progresses into a romance, I didn't feel the connection quite as strongly. And so what's interesting is the premises starts with them being forced to date for the show, but then as they develop feelings, they're like, this can't be part of a show anymore. Like, we need to figure out who we are as a couple. So the author takes it from this forced dating, banter romance to a much deeper conversation of living in the media spotlight. Because Ava and Riley Cooper kind of decide that they want to step away from the spotlight and actually explore their relationship. And the powers to be are like, no, you're bringing us money, so you're going to need to do this. So this book shifts into this idea of just like toxic workplace and media spotlight and people's privacy. I felt like I was reading a 4-star book that like slid all the way down to a 2-star book by the end. And it was a little bit of a letdown. I felt like there weren't a lot of pieces that explained why these characters worked well together in the present day. It was more of focusing on getting past the trauma that happened before. And so I didn't root for them as much in the present day. Do you agree, Bailey? Were you bothered by it? Another thing I liked about the book is there was no third act breakup. And third act breakups in rom-coms are like one of those things that just irks me. And this one like had all the leading into it. And the girl was like, I think we should break up. And the boy was like, no, we're not going to. We're going to work through this. And I was like, yes, that's what needs to happen in books more often. So I liked that part. This is why I'm torn on my rating. Like, there are parts of it I liked, parts of it I didn't like. It felt like 2 stories meshed together that kind of morphed in the middle. So that's, right now I'm mentally leaning towards, it's probably going to be a 3-star. So this book comes out on August 5th. So if it sounds like something you're interested in, keep an eye out for it. If you love the witty banter and the back and forth, this one might be a book that you really, really enjoy. 3-star. I'm glad I read it. It was fun. And now it's time to jump into our next book. So let's go into Net Galley. Okay, so we have a few options on Net Galley. We have The Love Haters by Katherine Center, which I'm just super excited for. In the past 3 days, I've actually gotten more audiobooks. So I now have 3 audiobooks that I can listen to, one of which is called Give Me Butterflies, which sounds really sweet. I think I'm most excited for Love Haters and Jillian Meadows' Give Me Butterflies. I don't know anything about Jillian Meadows, but the way the book is described, it's compared to Allie Hazelwood in terms of bringing in that science STEM women in science vibes. I think what we're going to do, because it's so nice out, is I got to do it. We're going to do Katherine Center's book next. In the back of my mind, I was going to try to save that one to end this vlog with Katherine Center's next book, but I'm too excited. We're going to start it. So I'm going to get it loaded on my Kindle and dive into Katherine Center's The Love Haters, and I'll update you guys in a little bit because it's so nice out. Probably going to read for a bit now. So I have been out running some errands, and I wanted to update you guys all on my reading progress. So I have now read about 15% of Katherine Center's new book, and it is delivering as Katherine Center usually does. The story behind this is, I think, going to be a blast. So the main character is a videographer, and she works in this place that's downsizing, but this guy kind of takes an interest in her in that he loves her work. He found her YouTube channel and likes these day in the life of a hero projects she has going on. He delivers her this opportunity of a lifetime because they have this big interview coming up, and he wants her on it. Now, there's a lot of catches here. The story that she's going to be filming is about this man who works for the Coast Guard, and he saw a golden retriever drowning, and he literally jumped off a cliff and saved this golden retriever, and lo and behold, it's Jennifer Aniston's golden retriever. So the story is very, very viral, and now she's going to be going and learning about the Coast Guard. So one, you already had me at saving a golden retriever, right? But here's what's going to be fun. He outlines all the things she's going to have to do while filming this. And so she's going to be in a helicopter over water, and they're going to show her how they in a simulation, how they literally flip a helicopter in the water. And so his one thing is hey, are you good with water? And she's like, yeah, no problem. Well, she can't swim. So this is going to get complicated. And due to what every woman goes through as a child, she also has body image problems and has not even been in a bathing suit for years. So, strike. So that's where we are. This could be an interesting experience, but it certainly sounds like it will be good. I don't know if the love interest is going to be the guy that is persuading her to go, or the guy she's going to be interviewing. So we'll stay tuned about that. But since I'm running errands, I decided now would be a perfect time to also get one of my audiobooks going that I have as an ARC. I've shared this before. I almost always have an audiobook and a physical book that I'm reading and listening to at the same time. So this worked out perfectly. So I'm still reading Katherine Center's book, but I've also started listening to The Butterfly Effect. I'm only about 6 or 7% in. I have a few more errands to run today, so I'm probably going to be knocking a bunch more out. But this is turning out to be really cute, potential Allie Hazelwood cute-esque. So in this book, you have this girl who works, and I forget the scientific term, but she studies bugs. Specifically, she works in a butterfly habitat, and her boss recently retired, so now she is up for a promotion. Also working with her is this guy who's in another department who is very much grumpy sunshine. So the very start of this book has this classic character introduction of she's talking to someone else, turns around, slams into him, coffee all over her, coffee all over him. They also have really good banter in those moments. So they truly feel like enemies right now, but enemies that try to zing each other. I love a good banter, and it's cute. It's fun so far. What's interesting is as she's applying for this job, it turns out he's on the interviewing committee, which again, in the greatest luck ever, she also managed to get an fender bender with him right before the interview. She's having a rough life right now. You also get his perspective, and with his perspective, you can tell that little Mr. Grumpy Sunshine is very interested in her and has been from the beginning. I think I've got 2 cute rom-com reads that I'm jumping into right now, which is very exciting, especially because I think after this, I get to dive into historical fiction. So I'm going to enjoy the lighthearted, fun, banter, romance, and keep listening to my audiobook while I finish up my errands. Let's do this thing. All right, so we are later into the day, and I wanted to update you all about what I have been reading. So this morning I shared that on my errands I was going to jump into listening to my audiobook. So I've been listening to Give Me Butterflies, and I actually double-checked something and have good news to share. So this is an arc for the audiobook, which comes out in a few months, but the book itself came out last year. So as I'm talking about it, if it's something you want to read, you can grab it right now. You don't have to wait. So that's awesome. In this book, we have Millie and Finn, and it alternates between perspectives. So each chapter, you get one perspective versus the other. And the audiobook has two voices, which I really love in an audiobook. Also in the audiobook, the man's voice is like really deep and it's nice. So in this book, you've got Millie. Millie is obsessed with bugs. She is now applying to be the head of this department. Now, the catch is Finn, who I mentioned before, is the guy that, like, Grumpy Sunshine, is also on the interviewing committee. Are you really going to itch yourself on camera? Like, that's your choice right now? This is what she does. When you stop petting her, she will demand, watch, stopping demands more. Stopping demands more. Yes, I know. So the grumpy character seems to be going away because turns out grumpy character has a soft spot and is actually permanently taking care of his two nieces because his sister had passed away from cancer. So he is permanently single dad for these two girls, and he brings them to work one day. Initially, she's like, oh my gosh, he has kids, and he explains the situation, and she connects with the kids, and the kids later on are like, hey, you should invite her over so we can cook something together. And then it becomes this thing where every Friday they get together and cook. She's teaching him how to cook because evidently he can't cook anything. So she's teaching him how to make snickerdoodles and pasta and all sorts of good things. And both of them on their separate chapters have admitted to having feelings for the other one. The catch is she is very much like, I want that job I applied for. It is my dream job and I want it the right way. So she's kind of like, she has flat out told him, like, no. And the interviews happen, and she knows that she's one of two final candidates. And so now the two final candidates are going to kind of do a trial run in the job to show what they would do with the department if they became in charge. And the tension is so good. Like, there have been a few scenes where I'm just like, just kiss already. Like, just kiss. I'm excited to keep listening to it, but I am home now, and it is the end of the day. So I have a little bit of time to myself before dinner crazies and all those things kick in. So I'm going to jump back into my Kindle and read some of Katherine Center's book, and I'll update you guys on that one soon. All right, it is a beautiful, beautiful day outside, 60 degrees, sunny, literally not a cloud in the sky. So I have to read outside, which means the lighting's not going to be great. And also, I live in a newer development and there's construction going on that way. So the sound's probably not that great, but we're reading outside. I don't care. We're going to play a really fun game called Read Until Your Kindle Dies because I've got about 6% battery left. So we're going to keep reading Katherine Center's The Love Haters, and we'll see how far I get, and then I'll update you guys. You just said you're like a human hot fudge sundae. But it's fun. Oh, looks like we've run the course of the battery. That's okay. It's a great time to update you guys. I've been reading The Love Haters. I think I had just about reached the 50% mark. I didn't check right before it died, but I was right around there. This is an interesting Katherine Center book. I feel like it takes on a lot of what Katherine Center does so well, which is the banter, the kind of cute, awkward moments, the funny, like, build up before the relationship. But I also am really enjoying the bigger message behind it. That's something I don't really attribute to Katherine Center. Like, usually if I'm reading one of her books, I'm like, I'm reading this for a good time. But what this book is doing is really interesting because it's kind of taking the negative self-image that I think most girls have and putting it on paper in, like, just a very genuine, typical way. Like, I feel like a lot of times when, like, that whole, like, loving yourself and having self-worth comes up in a book, it's done to the extreme cases. But this is so real. Like, there's so much in here that I'm like, yep, I can relate to that. I also keep thinking of one friend in particular that, like, I need her to go read this book. There was no, like, thing that happened as a child that made her feel insecure. It's just, like, a lot of little things. Like, her stepmom would nitpick her sometimes. Her ex is famous now, wasn't when she was dating him, and so people on the internet have critiqued her as a result. And so she's kind of, one, has a hard time saying positive things about herself, but, like, two, she kind of revolves her life around that concept. Like, she tries to wear drab colors all the time, hasn't been in a bathing suit in years. Like, all these little things where I'm kind of like, I like that it's taking on that message, but, like, without turning it into this, like, way overblown big thing, because I think it makes it so much more relatable, because so many people, myself included, can read this and go, I've been there. I get why you're feeling this way. So, like, that piece is really nice. But to update you on what's going on in the plot, I said before how she got this videographer type job where she was going to have to go down to Florida, be in a bathing suit, and film this guy who saved a golden retriever from drowning. So she first learns about Hutch through Cole, who she works with. And it turns out Cole and Hutch are brothers, and Cole kind of describes Hutch as, like, this guy who hates love, doesn't want to be on camera, doesn't want to talk to anyone, just kind of, like, paints him as this loner. And now that she's getting to know him, like, that couldn't be further from the truth. In fact, you start to see why he doesn't want to be on camera. There's a very heartfelt reason that he doesn't want to be on camera. We'll just put that there. It starts in just the true Katherine Center kind of way of, they first meet each other before the assignment starts. In fact, in their second meeting, his dog pushes her over and she ends up with splinters all up her backside. And because he is a Coast Guard, he has some medical training, so he helps pull all the splinters out. And so, yeah, the whole first 50% of the book is a slow burn, but a slow burn in a good way. I will say the very beginning of the book, I feel like the author did a ton of flashbacks to kind of help us understand who the character was. And it felt like flashback. And I was like, can we just get into the story? I think we're past that now. We understand what the characters are going through. And now that we've hit the 50% mark, the romance is starting to vibe. So there has been a kiss at this point. We'll leave it there. I just think I'm impressed so far. I'm not shocked. I knew I was going to love this book. I'm just having a great time reading this, so I'm excited to plug in my Kindle, get some more reading done. Before I do that, I have to update you also on Give Me Butterflies, because I had started that audiobook while doing errands, and I've actually already finished it. I flew through it. I gave it 4 stars. I'll be honest, when I started reading it, I don't think I thought it was going to go down the 4-star route, but it's definitely, I liked the direction the author took it. I went into this book hoping for another Allie Hazelwood book, and that is not this. I don't think this book gets very into the science aspect, so I don't think I agree with that comparison. But the story turned out to be super, super sweet. I had shared earlier that the main girl was trying to get her dream job in this museum and had applied for it, and then the guy that she started to develop feeling, they kind of continued down this friends path, but like really good friends. Like, they get together for cooking lessons. She knows the kids really well. She ends up bringing him and his nieces, which are now his children effectively, to meet her family. This was much more than just a friendship. And so finally, she owns up to the fact that, like, I don't want to be with you because you're on the interview committee. And he's like, as soon as we hung out that one time, I left the interview committee. I didn't want you to have to deal with any of that. And, like, it was just so sweet because she was so worried about, like, as a female in the science industry, people already question these kind of things, and I don't want that to be there. And he, like, knew that was going to be a concern beforehand and, like, laid everything out. And then what gets really interesting is it comes down to her and one other candidate, and she learns that the other candidate happens to be her ex. Like, he is one of those, like, smooth talkers, everyone loves you, etc., etc., but she knows the truth. One of the things I loved about this book is there was no third act breakup. He, in particular, was a fantastic communicator. Like, he explained what he was doing, why he was doing it, and the whole purpose behind it. They're more of just them navigating this world of being professional colleagues while also potentially her getting the dream of her life, while also, like, falling in love. And I think the fact that he had these nieces was, like, part of what made this book so beautiful to me. Like, the way he interacted with them and prioritized them after losing his sister was really nice. Like at one point, she does this big gesture and her friends are like, "You want us to get the kids out of the way?" And she's like, no, not at all. I want the kids here. I want them to be part of this. And it was a really, really sweet, sweet story. I do feel like it tried to dive into that STEM world not very successfully. So it kind of felt like the author made the choice to focus on the romance, not the science and that kind of aspect. So I wish there had been more there. But other than that, it was a 4-star read. I shared before, this is already out. The audiobook is coming out soon. I thought the audiobook was done phenomenally. It had both a male and female readers. 4-star read on that one. Hopefully, because it's so nice out, hopefully I will fly through some more of this book after I give the Kindle some time to charge. And then I'll update you guys soon on that one. I also might be starting another audiobook. Let's see what we have. So I actually have 2 historical fiction audiobooks from Net Galley right now. I have Last Twilight in Paris. So this one is taking place during World War II, and the other one I got was, I don't know how to say this, Bo, Artist at War. This is a man's memoir in a Nazi concentration camp. That might be the winner for now. You know, maybe I will listen to a little bit of an audiobook while this charges, and then I'll update you guys soon. See you then. So I wanted to update you guys because I have now finished 2 more of my ARC books that I wanted to tell you about. So the first book I finished was Bo, Artist at War. So this was an audiobook arc of a Holocaust story taking place during World War. Unfortunately, the tides have turned. This ended up being a 2-star read for me, and I hate saying that because there's very few reviews for this book online, and so far they're really good, so I'm gonna be the first. It's a love story between Bo and his wife, who meet in a concentration camp, and their story is infamous as being a couple that got married in said camp on Valentine's Day, even though they didn't know the date. It just happened to be Valentine's Day, which is it's a really, really sweet story. And when I read the afterword, it was just so, so beautiful. And then you get into like the actual story and like, it was good. I hate saying this, felt to me like there were massive holes as I was reading this. Like, you don't really get into like them meeting or them dealing with like dating in a concentration camp until all of a sudden it's like, oh, by the way, I met someone and I introduced them to my mom. And I'm like, hold on, I want all of those details in between. And then it's like there's another huge gap of time and all of a sudden we're getting married. And like that, the story of their wedding night, phenomenal. But I'm like, what about all the stuff in between? Every scene was done phenomenally, but there was just massive gaps in between. And so like, I left feeling like there's clearly a powerful story here. It's just the writing didn't capture it for me. And I hate to say that because I was looking forward to this one. And also it is a memoir, and judging someone for their experiences just feels so wrong. And that's not what I'm doing. Like, you can tell that there's a powerful story behind this. You can respect what he went through. It's just massive gaps. That's really what it came down to. The writing in the moment was phenomenal. The anecdotes were phenomenal. So yeah, it ended up being a 2-star, and I'm sad to say that. So I finished that audiobook on the way there, and then one night ended up laying in bed till way too late in the morning, finishing up The Love Haters by Katherine Center, and 5 stars. Like, oh my goodness. Like, honestly, this might be my favorite Katherine Center book yet. And that's saying a lot. And I will say this, I am a huge dog lover, and dogs have a major factor in this book. So that might be why this one is hitting so, so well. But it is just so amazing and great. And I know I've talked to you about it along the way. It's basically this love story between this girl who just doesn't have a lot of confidence and this man who's portrayed as Grumpy Sunshine, but he's not Grumpy Sunshine. He really never was. He's kind of grumpy for 2 minutes, and then we learn that that was a complete misjudgment. But also you get to know his brother and his brother's baggage, and like you see his brother dealing with constantly competing with the perfect brother because Hutch saves lives and athletic and good looking and you name it. And so his brother Cole has spent his entire life comparing himself and feeling less to Hutch. And then you come to the fact that like now they've got Cole is fake dating a love interest that Hutch is interested in. So then you got the love triangle, which was so much fun. And then the final part of this book, let me tell you, I didn't see it coming, but the final like 15% of this book is actually very action-packed. Without giving away too many details, it turns into a little bit of a life or death situation. And I don't know how Katherine Center does it, but like in the middle of a life or death situation, she still manages to throw things out there that make you snicker and giggle. I mean, like there is a scene where someone might die any minute and a frog hops out. To be about the darn frog, and it's just so funny. It's so funny and so serious. And then all of it centers around a dog and like it starts with him saving Jennifer Aniston's dog. And it comes full circle because she tries to save his dog, and no dogs were harmed in the making of this film, so you can watch it and be safe. And I'm sorry, it doesn't come out for a little while. Put it on your TBR, pre-order it today. The link is down below to pre-order it, because this is a good one. If you have enjoyed Katherine Center, if you like banter, if you like rom-com, you're gonna want to have this one. Trust. Especially if you're a dog person. Well, there you have it. We have now read 4 advanced reader copies and managed to get a 2-star, 3-star, 4-star, and 5-star. I mean, could we have planned that any better? So unfortunately, the 2-star is Beau, Artist at War. I feel like this could have been a phenomenal story. I just wish so many things weren't left out and we didn't jump forward so often. Then we had Well Actually, which was a 3-star rom-com read. This one comes out in August, so if you're interested, keep an eye out for it then. It was a fun book. It was a cheeky book. I think if you're looking for just a good time, laugh along the way, this one could really hit the mark. I don't think it's the greatest rom-com I've ever read. I think the podcast and forced dating in front of the public element was really fun and kind of a unique twist on dating, but it didn't hit as hard as the others. So then we had Give Me Butterflies. This book has already come out, but the audiobook comes out in the near future, so this was an advanced copy of the audiobook. This was a 4-star read. I really enjoyed it. It was unique. I went into it kind of expecting an Allie Hazelwood-esque in terms of STEM and kind of bringing together the science and the romance. And it didn't hit there because it really doesn't get into the science as much as Allie Hazelwood does. But you really do get forbidden love. And then there's also a lot of, this is definitely like Golden Retriever Man energy in terms of just how sweet he is to his nieces that he is now taking care of. It was a great, great read. And then, of course, our 5-star, The Love Haters by Katherine Center, which brought everything together. You had the banter, you had the deep feelings, and you had the dogs. I started this video off telling you guys that any one of you could easily start to get arcs. You do not need to be this huge, millions of people watching you to get advanced reader copies. So there you have it. I would love to hear if you think you're going to be picking up any of these 4 books. Bye for now.